Edgar Chagwa Lungu mentioned, or he did update the nation on the state of the nation, which is also known as SONA, on the progress that we've made in regards to principles and national values. And now different people, different political party leaders, politicians, the clergy have described the speech in different ways and forms. And this evening on the special program, we want to understand more on these principles and national values. My name is Kelvin Dabola Chifoko, and this is the special interview. Those of you that are joining us on the Muvi TV decoder, yours is channel 1, and we value your support, and it is our prayer that you will continue to support us and paying your subscription fees. Those of you that are joining us on social media, yours is Facebook, and yours, you can just type Ask Muvi. You can write your comment, whether it is a question. We'll be able to ask that question to my guest on the program tonight. We'll be able to respond to whatever question that you may have in regards to the state of the nation that the president, gave to the Zambian people on Friday, the 12th of February. My guest on the program is a PF sympathizer by the name of Celestin Mukandila. Celestin, good evening and welcome to this special interview.
Good evening, Kelvin, and good evening to the viewers out there.
To those of you that are still wondering and are still trying to understand what is it when we talk about national values and principles. Now, national values and principles are morality and ethics, patriotism and national unity, democracy and constitutionalism, human dignity, equity, social justice, equality and non-discrimination, good governance, integrity, and sustainable development. So on Friday, the president touched all these, 7 principles and national values, and he was updating the nation, telling us the progress that we've made as a nation. Mind you, these principles and national values are not meant for the Patriotic Front, but they are for the Zambian people. And so he was giving a report on the strides of the progress that we've made in observing and making sure that we are, as a nation, we are following and abiding to these national values and principles. So to those of you that are thinking these are these are principles that are supposed to be observed by the PF, no, they are actually supposed to be observed by the Zambian people. Mukandila, first of all, let's begin by the speech itself before we get to look at each and every principle and national value. What do you make of the speech that the president gave? Did it meet your aspiration or not?
Well, actually, for me, as a patriotic citizen of this country, I believe the speech was very elaborate. I believe we are actually headed the right direction. It was a very good and inspiring speech, touching on a number of issues, especially to do with how to uphold the living standards of women, the moral values of society as a whole, the levels of integrity in society. And I think for me, my expectations were met by the presidential speech, the SONA that is, and I believe, I think we are headed in the right direction.
The president did mention to say these values and principles provide the moral compass for a country. They guide every decision we make, every policy we formulate, and every law we enact. You have indicated that it was inspiring, according to you. Do you think the decisions that we have been making as a nation are a reflective of what is enshrined when we talk about principles and national values?
I think to begin with, Kelvin, we need to understand that the national values, principles, and economic policies are enshrined in the Constitution of the Republic of Zambia. So when you look at actually Part 2 of the National Constitution, which is Act number 2 of 2016, it provides for the national values and principles. Now, looking at the constitutional requirement of the Republican President to update the nation, when you look at the same constitution in Article 9 and Article 2 of the Constitution, it provides that the President shall report to the nation on the status of these values outlined in Article 8 of the Constitution. So basically, whether one likes it or not, it is imperative that the Republican president should update the nation on the status of the nation with regards to national values. So now, vis-a-vis the issue to do with coming up with policy and formulation of laws in this country, we need to also realize that the same constitution has provided that whatever laws we come up with have to be in tandem with the constitution of the republic. And not only should it be in tandem with the constitution, they have to be in line with the national values that we've adopted as a Zambian people. Remember, in 2016, we as a Zambian people came up with an amendment to the national constitution. That is Act number 2. And we enshrined these national values into the Constitution of the Republic of Zambia. And therefore, for me, I believe, and that is the reason why we've got institutions of government and the three arms of government providing the necessary checks and balances. We've got the judiciary on the other end, we've got the legislature on the other end, and we've got the executive. The executive arm, headed by the president, will come up with certain policies they intend to formulate as government through cabinet. However, there are also enforcement institutions, for example, such as the judiciary, that will come and interpret the same laws. And they will ensure that in the process of interpreting the laws that the executive arm or parliament has come up with, they interpret that particular law in accordance with the national values and principles outlined in the Constitution. So, in an event where government decides to come up with any particular policy that abrogates or goes against the principles and national values that we have accepted as the Zambian people, we actually have redress. As a Zambian people, we can take the government to task. So, ideally, these principles and national values that we've accepted as a Zambian people are constitutional, and we ought to do whatever we do as government also in line with these principles. In an event that there is an abrogation of these principles, that is the reason why you've got parliament on the other end, which will check on the functions of the executive. We've seen parliament is divided, mostly they sit in those subcommittees, and those committees will actually try and see and check, provide the necessary checks and balances to the executive arm. And that is the reason why recently we've seen the Parliamentary Committee on Public and Finance, Parliamentary Accounts Committee has been sitting, questioning the executive decisions that were made in different executive arms of government, including the Ministry of Health.
Is it just a matter of reporting because it is enshrined in the Constitution? So the president is mandated to report to the nation on the progress that you've made. Or, as is the reporting, you've talked about us having these national values. Do you think these national values have been accepted by the Zambian people and they are being observed? Or it is just a matter of the president updating the nation whether these national values are being followed or not?
Okay, on that note, if you followed the speech by the president yesterday religiously, the first statement the president made with regards to morality and the rules or ethics, he said there is a high deterioration, regrettably, of the moral compass in the country. And because we have identified those particular elements that have caused our society to be morally inept a bit, there comes a situation where now the president reports to say, yes, we've identified this. However, these are the solutions that his government has put in place. The solutions that he feels his government should ensure that we abide by these national values and principles. Very important. Now, with regards to the Zambian people, you see, we need to remember everything and anything that is in the Constitution of the Republic is a creation of what the aspirations of the Zambian people are. Because that's the reason why in the preamble of the Constitution, it says, we the people of Zambia. It does not say, I, Edgar Lungu. Neither does it say, I, Celestin Mukandila. You see? So in terms of accepting, we don't have a choice. It is in the Constitution.
We just have to accept.
We have to embrace it. Not even accepting, we have to embrace it and live with it.
And in terms of reporting, it is enshrined.
It is enshrined.
The president has to report. Whether we're making progress or not, he has to tell us.
He has to tell the nation on whether there is progress or not. And of course, from the look of things, on average, I would say the progress we have made is actually tremendous. You know, it's been very inspiring, like I stated. But you see, there's no choice. As a matter of fact, there is no choice on whether or not to report. You just have to report. It is constitutional. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mukandila. Like I've mentioned that different political parties or different citizens have described the SONA so far, or the speech by the president differently. Let us, Director, can give us a report on how other people have reacted to the SONA, or the speech that the president delivered on Friday, and then on the other side we'll continue discussing with my guest, Celestin Mukandila, who is a PF sympathizer.
President Edgar Lungu is concerned morals and ethics are declining in Zambia. President Lungu has observed there is high prevalence of gender-based violence, child marriages, teenage pregnancies, alcohol and substance abuse, and social media abuse. Addressing Parliament on Friday, the 12th of February 2021, on progress made in the application of national values and principles, President Lungu particularly regretted violence against women between ages of 15 and older, which currently stands at 45.9%, is way too high.
In the last 4 years, over 85,000 cases of gender-based violence were reported across the country. For defilement alone, the country recorded over 8,000 cases in the last 4 years. The increase in reported cases of gender-based violence and defilement, for me, is a clear indication that our sensitization programs and campaigns are bearing fruit.
President Lungu is also concerned about the rate of suicide in the country.
Mental diseases can affect anybody, and that is why families, friends, and the public in general need to help our people ravaged by challenges such as depression. In Zambia, suicide rates are now reported to be at 17.5 per 100,000 males.
12 February 2021, the Republican President Edgar Lungu gave a report on the progress made in the application of the national values and principles in Zambia. The report has raised many concerns from different stakeholders. Among them is the Republican Progressive Party leader, Leslie Chikusi, who feels that the president's report was not what the people were expecting. Speaking in an interview with Muvi TV News in Lusaka, Mr. Chikusa says that the president did not tackle issues affecting the Zambian people as they expected him.
Is and like to deal with the pertinent issues that are currently affecting our country and how our country can be able to move forward. In other words, President Lungu was just scratching on top of what morality is, what integrity is, what is constitutionalism, what is democracy. And that was not the expectation of the Zambian people. The Zambian people were expecting President Lungu to give directive. For example, the shooting, the murder of the 2 innocent citizens. The murder of the 2 innocent citizens. The issues surrounding the healthy sector, issues to do with expired drugs, issues to do with defective ARVs, expired ARVs, issues to do with defective and leaking condoms and so on. We expected President Lungu to emphasize, to give emphasis on this particular issue and how the government was so committed to ensure that there is no recurrence of such kind of issues.
The president's speech, in my view, was rather flat. I really think that it missed, it lacked a punch, and it missed a real opportunity to really be assertive on many of the challenges and issues that we are facing as a country. It was a speech that was supposed to give an update on how we have fared in terms of issues of morality, issues of integrity, and generally just our national values as a country. And I really think that it was an opportunity that was missed. If you look at the issue of corruption and what has happened probably over the last year or so with the honeybee issue, for example, and the fact that the very health of millions of citizens of Zambia was put at risk because of the selfishness of a few individuals, there is absolutely nothing moral about that, and there is nothing moral about corruption. Corruption does not promote integrity in any way, and I think corruption really is partly a reflection of the immorality that is existing in our society and the immorality that we are having to grapple with. So to then have a speech that is supposed to focus on national values, not even say anything about the immorality that was involved in a few selfish individuals putting the lives of millions of Zambians at risk, I think for me it was a very big missed opportunity. So I would say the speech was flat, and it lacked a punch, and in many respects it really fell flat.
There you have it, Mr. Mukandila. Let's start with morality and ethics. The president talked about issues to do with divorces, issues to do with early pregnancies, issues to do with early marriages, and he did mention that as a nation we've made progress with cooperating partners, the church. He mentioned the civil society organization, the re-entry policy, that we are doing well. But again, there is a core that we need to do more. But people expected him to touch on the issues of morals and ethics in the people that are serving in government. Do you think he missed an opportunity there?
Well, you see, Kelvin, they say a journey begins with a step. And like I indicated earlier on, that I feel we are actually moving in the right step, in the right direction. Now, you see, when it comes to issues to do with morality, the president mentioned to say it is sad that there is a deterioration in the morality of our people. We identified it. He acknowledged that it is very sad. However, in as much as it is sad, we've identified that we need to come up with solutions. Like any responsible government, solutions were put in place, such as sensitization of people with regards to issues to do with gender-based violence. He intimated that there's been an increase in the number of reported cases of GBV. Not that it's a good thing, that people are abusing themselves, but it is good in that we are able to know that we can prosecute would-be offenders or offenders of the same vices, such as GBV, because we know the numbers. The more the increase of the numbers in courts, the number of cases that have been reported, the better for the nation, because it means the message has been sent. People are able, both male and female, are able to go to the GBV departments of the government and report matters. And not only that, to ensure that that area, in terms of the moral aspect of that area, in terms of GBV, we try and expedite the matters that go to court. There are fast-track courts that deal with GBV matters. That is a step in the right direction, where cases are not taking so long. Remember, justice delayed is justice denied. So we want to ensure that how do we embrace a future for our young ones, a future for this country, which is going to be at least free from abuse in terms of the gender-based violence. Come up with laws. We've come up with the Gender-Based Violence Act. Come up with enforcement mechanisms such as the courts, which have been made fast-track for GBV. Now, going to the issue of in the system, the civil service, he intimated that government has been providing the relevant checks and balances to ensure that those that are abusing their authority, those that are abusing their offices and mismanaging public resources and finances are taken to book. Now, it is exemplified, Kelvin, it is exemplified with the introduction of the Public Finance Management Act. Yeah, the Public Finance Management Act of Act number 1 of 2018, which has brought out a lot of issues with regards to checking and balancing the use of public finance. For example, currently, we've got officers that have been attending parliamentary accounts committee hearings. Those officers, as you're going to look at the Public Finance Management Act, the officers who will in any way be found wanting may end up being prosecuted because the law has been enacted. And apart from that, officers that will have caused government to lose financing or finances or to lose money, the Public Finance Management Act, a new enactment, has provided for a provision that these particular officers will be surcharged. So we are not looking at a mere issue of a person abusing the authority they have or their office, or ensuring that in whatever way, miraculously, expired drugs are discovered, or they are supplied, and that miraculously happens that they are supplied and they are in the possession of government, that officer will just go scot-free. No, it doesn't mean that. So the SONA, as of yesterday, the president gave a statement to say a lot is being done to ensure that the abuse by these officers does not just go unpunished. We've got introduction of integrity committees, which have been there, and they are being even enforced even more in government departments. All those are mechanisms aimed at ensuring that we curb the abuse of public finance or public resources, ensuring that we are in line with the national values and principles, ensuring that the levels of corruption are reduced. Currently, as we are talking, Kelvin, the government has ensured that they've introduced platforms, e-platforms, for transactions.
No, Mr. Mukandila, you've cited the issue of Public Finance Management Act, and the President mentioned that in addition, the Public Procurement Act number 8 of 2020 was enacted to enhance transparency, value for money, competition, and accountability in the use of public resources. A lot of Zambians today are complaining medicine is expiring, and no one is being arrested or taken to court. But this act was enacted in 2020. Don't you think the president was just offering lip services, but what is on the ground is different?
Yeah, so you see, Kelvin, whatever happens, it is actually laughable that certain people would think nothing is being done. But I'll tell you that whatever happens, each and every individual is actually protected constitutionally, and the Constitution in Article 18(2)(a) provides that a person is considered innocent until proven guilty. That level of protection, my brother, is meant to ensure that the individual human right is protected now and safeguarded. However, in order for any person to be prosecuted of an irregularity or of an offense that they will have committed, there ought to be an offense prescribed in an act of parliament. So now, what is government doing to ensure that we have those safeguards? The Procurement Act, is amended and enacted.
Yes.
So that particular law has provided for ways in which to ensure that we curtail.
And it was enacted in 2020.
Exactly, and that is the reason why. You see,
and today we are still reporting, we are still seeing medicine expiring.
And that is the reason why, my brother, when you look at the Parliamentary Accounts Committee, it has identified these individuals. And those individuals, whatever reports they give, by the way, they are on oath.
Yes.
And any form of lies, it is perjury. So now, what is happening is, identified individuals, right channels in the law will be taken to investigate. The investigation, part of it is being done by the Parliamentary Committee on Accounts and Public Finance. From there will be issues to do with enforcement now. You need to prosecute those that will be found wanting. Now, do we now have the law to prosecute these people and ensure that we bring to book whoever is abusing public finances? And the answer is yes. Why? Because as government, the government had to sit down to ensure that the relevant laws, pieces of legislation are put in place to prosecute individuals that are found wanting. Now, these are steps in the right direction. If a law, you see, when you look at Article 18(8) of the Constitution of the Republic of Zambia, it says no one can be prosecuted of any offense unless it is prescribed in a written law. Now, in this case, what I'm trying to say is we can only prosecute those that are found wanting, even as far as those that are found wanting or mismanaging the public resources in the Auditor General's report, using the legislation that we now have, that have provided for prosecution,
yes,
that have provided for punishment to be meted.
According to you, do you think as a government or as a party, they are doing what it takes to make sure that people are punished? Because it is in public domain. Medicine has expired. Issues to do with procurement, tenders were not followed. Issues to do with issuing a license. Today we are talking about honeybee. The license has been revoked by Zamra. If these things are in public domain and Zambians know that there was an error in awarding a contract, there was an error in issuing a certificate, there was an error, why is it that medicine is going to waste when in clinics and hospitals people are given prescriptions, there are no medicines, and people have continued to hold offices, others who have been fired, no action is being taken?
And you see, my brother, like I stated, it is regrettable, and the president acknowledged the failure in the moral compass of certain individuals. Now, you see, you have seen the action that the President of the Republic of Zambia, Dr. Edgar Chagwa Lungu, has started taking and has been taking. You have seen the Secretary to the Cabinet getting rid of certain individuals who have been found wanting, and those that are actually currently being investigated for different vices that they've committed. Now, all this has come because we now have the relevant laws to ensure that we prosecute such individuals. The president will fire this person. The law enforcement officers will move in and ensure that they investigate. If a person is found wanting, the person will be prosecuted before the court. Now, Zamra, you have seen, the current Minister of Health has taken action in terms of how he wants things to be done. Because now we have laws that we need to ensure that integrity. You see, Kelvin, I always speak about integrity. Integrity. Integrity, one One author actually said integrity is doing the right thing even if no one is watching. Unfortunately, our colleagues did the wrong things, and it is now in the public domain. They are under the microscope of the public. And there is need for sanitization. And that is what has been done now. The Minister of Health is sanitizing his ministry, ensuring that all departments that had those hiccups are sanitized. And that is a step in the right direction. The question is, do we have the relevant laws to ensure these people? You
mentioned that we have.
We have.
Yes.
The other question is, are we taking a step forward in the right direction to ensure that these people are brought to book? And the answer is simple. It's in the public domain.
Don't you think that now the Minister of Health now is just exposing the party and the government? Because we had a minister. It's not like the Minister of Health had no minister. We had a minister, and these things were happening, and he's watching for it.
My brother, let me tell you, in terms of executing work by a minister, remember, that's the reason it's very important for even individuals. What happens in governance? Ministers are policymakers,
yes,
sitting in cabinet, but these ministers are actually advised by technocrats. Now, the number one technocrat in any ministry, my brother, and the people out there, that you have to understand, the number one technocrat in any ministry is the permanent secretary.
Yes.
Now, whatever a minister does should actually do it on the advice of the technocrats. They understand the systems, and that is the reason why technocrats mostly will continue holding their offices even after there is a change of government.
Yes.
Civil servants will continue. The wheel of governance, my brother, never stops moving. There is a system. Politicians will come in, make different noises here and try and change things. However, there is a system in place. Now, what I'm trying to say, what I'm trying to bring to the fore is, you know, as long as the political will is shown by an individual occupying a particular office, something is being done. The question is there a political will that is being seen by the current minister to ensure that he comes up with policies that will bring transparency, accountability, and enforce the values of integrity into ministries? And the answer is simple. The answer is yes. Now, what has government done to ensure that there is transparency in the procedures, in the processes, reduction of corruption? We've got e-platforms, my brother, e-platforms. Now, these e-platforms currently indicate that, for example, you no longer pay for a fine to a police officer in terms of cash. You will be sent to the bank to go and deposit the money. You may actually even transact electronically. You will no longer today have to queue to renew a driver's license. You may do it on your gadget. As long as you've got some coins in your account, you will be able to transact with government. E-platforms. Now, what does that do? If you reduce the handling of money by government officers with the highest percentage, it means you are going to reduce the level of corruption. Government money should go to government coffers. E-transactions, money moves not from me to you in terms of cash. The money will move using electronics. Electronic transactions. That is an innovation that the government has introduced. Now, the introduction of e-services by government would drastically, and it has, in fact, right now, it has drastically reduced the levels of corruption. Accountability, the amount of revenue government is realizing in this nation today has increased. You know why? Because money is moving, transactions that performed or done electronically. Today, my brother, if you want to buy road tax, everyone around, they still want to go and queue at Rata. Today, if you want to buy road tax, You just go on the e-platform. You purchase your road tax.
Mr. Mukandila, I appreciate the issue of electronic that you've talked about. But right now, as we are speaking, City Market and intercity bus terminals are appearing before the Public Accounts Committee. They have been found wanting in the Auditor General's report. So despite the e-platforms, we are still using the traditional way of issuing receipts and exchange of monies. And that is why intercity and City Market have been found wanting.
Now, you see, my brother, like I indicated, a journey begins with a step. Now, different departments, now the issue of e-transactions is actually drawing down to the local authorities. There is a process of devolution of power that is actually provided in our constitution. Now, power is being devolved. Now, the process, remember, the process of devolving power from the central government to the local authorities is not a one-day thing. Now, what is happening is power is being devolved to the local authorities. And with that process, the e-services are equally going down to the local authorities. And very soon, and I can assure you, my brother, soon and very soon, we are going to see all these institutions, as long as they've got a connotation or an attachment to government, being on a platform to encourage e-services. Very soon, you will have, at the same intercity, where instead of you paying cash, probably people will be giving smart cards, which will be loaded with money. You are just swiping. You swipe, your bus leaves. You swipe, your bus leaves. That in itself is going to increase on the level of transparency, on the level of accountability, and just to ensure that we reduce the level of corruption.
Do you think the ministers that we have, the current crop of ministers that we have, are committed in making sure that there is transparency and accountability in the way they are discharging their duties?
The commitment of ministers, they are actually, I would actually be very frank and open with you. There are certain ministers that may leave much to be desired when you look at them. However, I believe that the Republican president is committed, and I believe that in the quest to ensure that we uphold national values, he has put in place measures to ensure that that is upheld. However, for me, I'll actually indicate that there are different ways of ensuring that we check and balance these particular ministers and the ministries at large. You know, in an event that an individual decides to abrogate, for example, the provisions of the Constitution, or any provision that safeguards the dignity of an individual, there are laws and mechanisms that we can use to check them, devoid of the fact that it may be a minister serving or not. So for me, I believe, yes, there may be some bad seeds here and there, but what is important is the political will that is exemplified by the Republican president, Dr. Edgar Changwa Lungu, and that in itself is, for me, enough to ensure that we move in the right direction.
Let's talk about the health sector. The president talked about government has constructed over 500 health facilities since 2017. We have also recruited over 23,000 health workers. To ensure efficiency in the supply of drugs and medical supply, we have established 5 regional medical storage and distribution hubs. And people expected the president to talk about the expired medicine, because the medicine that we are talking about expired in 2016, and people, or these medicine, were sent to these hubs, and these hubs distributed to health facilities. And now, like last week, we did see the Zamra writing, recalling ARVs, which have expired. Don't you think the president missed an opportunity of informing or apologizing to the nation that despite us building these health facilities and these hubs, but still some people in my government have continued to supply or to give you expired medicine? Don't you think the president needed to apologize to the nation?
My brother, I'll tell you this. You know, like I have been saying, are we doing anything to ensure that the right thing is done? The answer is yes. Now, it is regrettable, you know, it is actually immoral to have expired ARVs distributed to anyone. It doesn't matter.
You said it is immoral.
It is immoral.
So morality has been defeated there.
It is immoral. There was, you see, there was an admission by the president in his speech to say there is a problem somewhere. However, solutions have been put on the table to ensure that we curb such. Yes, it is immoral. You cannot, and I repeat, you cannot distribute expired drugs. You are dealing with the health of an individual. Regrettable it is, the president acknowledged. Regrettable it is, the president, through his minister, Dr. Chanda, acknowledged. Now, these medicines being distributed, the question is, who is distributing the medication? It would still take you back to the civil servant who is in his office and decides to sleep on their job. As a technocrat, they decide to advise this politician who is a minister on what is happening. But there are technocrats there. So for me, I believe enforcement mechanisms or putting the measures to ensure that everything is done in accordance with the law, everything is done in accordance with the values, the national values that we're talking about.
Where have you singled out a technocrat advising the minister instead of saying maybe it is the minister advising the technocrat saying let's go ahead and decide?
The minister is only told that this is what is there. The minister does not go on the ground to look at those charts.
Don't you think if the minister has been told that the only medicine we have has expired, can the minister say, go ahead and distribute?
It's not possible. That is actually criminal in an event that is done.
So you are faulting the technocrats?
What I'm saying is there are professional people who should handle the management of those drugs. Before any drug is dispensed from the necessary medical stores, they have to be checked. Why then should you release drugs that are expired? We have seen the Public Accounts Committee where individuals are saying, no, we actually did not really know, but something was done. But how do you respond in such a manner?
Because
when we are dealing, you are dealing with the life.
They didn't know who authorized.
No. I'm talking about just the movement of those medications.
Yes.
But you see, my brother, who is responsible for a particular ministry? I indicated that the number one civil servant, the number one technocrat in any ministry is the permanent secretary. A permanent secretary should never say, I don't know, because they know. And if anything, you see, the submissions that were done in that particular committee are actually done on oath. And I would actually take keen interest in seeing where or how far we go in ensuring that certain statements that were made at that committee are followed religiously to ensure that certain people who may have told lies here and there are prosecuted. Because we cannot, and I repeat, we cannot continue having individuals who pose to be at the top of a ministry as a number one civil servant, as a PS, who is saying, I don't know. When there's a signature somewhere sitting of an individual who signed. Now, drugs are distributed. The question is, were they expired? Yes, they were expired. Were they recorded? Yes, they were recorded. Why? The question again to be asked is, why were they dispensed?
And who is going to answer that?
Why were they dispensed? They should be technocrats. They should be responsible people.
The same technocrats who appeared before the Public Accounts Committee and said, we don't know.
My brother, that's what I'm saying. The law is there. President Sata would say the law is there. We need to just enforce it. And it is the same thing I'm telling you. The law is there. The political will to ensure that the lives of the Zambian people are uplifted, safeguarded. The political will is there. And that is the reason why we've seen in the agenda of the Patriotic Front, we have ensured that we have constructed the relevant structures, hospitals, health posts. We've constructed them. Now, it takes a sense of responsibility as an individual. That's the patriotism we've been talking about, my brother. It starts with you as a citizen of the Republic of Zambia. You ought to be patriotic and ensure that you conduct yourself in a manner that has got a lot of integrity, especially when you're dealing with the lives of individuals. Very important, patriotism. Let it start from you as a civil servant working in a stores department somewhere in government, or in Shangombo or somewhere, even in Chovwe, ensuring that before you dispense any medication, remember at the back of your mind to say, even your grandfather, your father, your mother may be given this same medication, the expired medication.
You've talked about, dispensing or giving expired medicine is immoral, according to you. And we have seen people were given expired medicine, and medicine has expired under the watchful eye of the same technocrats that you've mentioned. According to you as Mukandila, you've talked about political will. What is it that should be done to the people that endanger the lives of Zambians and the people that saw medicine going to waste? And if at all there's something that needs to be done, how quick?
For me, I would actually say as soon as yesterday, integrity committees in government departments should be watched. As soon as yesterday, integrity committees in government departments should be switched. And the reason is simple. It is possible the integrity committees are sleeping. The integrity committees are meant to ensure that they assist institutions like the DEC, the Anti-Corruption Commission, in detecting abuse, in detecting
So there's no need of having
wrongdoings.
these integrity committees because they are sleeping.
They are sleeping currently. For that to happen in the Ministry of Health, it means somewhere, somehow, those integrity committees are sleeping.
So with or without integrity committees, these sleeping integrity committees, the mess will continue.
My brother, what I'm saying is, government cannot operate independently just by the system operating like that. That's the reason why there were introductions of integrity committees. President Michael Sata, having served in government for a very long time, realized to say the only way you try and curb corruption is by introducing these integrity committees.
Which have failed us.
Now, what do you do? If there was a way of actually advising them, I would say those integrity committees should not serve for more than a year in a ministry, and they should not be known. The problem is individuals have even been known to say, "Vaja niva integrity committee vaja." Uzashushula bwanji. That is the problem.
So they are not serving the purpose.
They are currently, my brother, you cannot have drugs being dispensed that are expired if the integrity committee is serving its purpose. By now, as we are talking, DEC would have moved in, the Anti-Corruption Commission would have moved in, the police would have moved in. But because the integrity committees in those ministries and in those departments were sleeping, it's a challenge. It is a big challenge.
Do we still need them?
But the question again is, do we have the political will? And the answer is simple. The Patriotic Front government currently, and this has to be noted by every individual, the Patriotic Front government currently is operating on the basis of the 2016-2021 manifesto. It's a political manifesto, it's a political promise to the Zambian people to say this is what we intend to do. And in the same manifesto, it is provided that a life of every Zambian will be looked at and safeguarded. Will ensure that health is a priority for every Zambian, even as far as Chovwe, as far as Mayombe, as far as Vubwi. Health should be for everyone. And because of that, it can be seen that the political will by the Patriotic Front and the Patriotic Front government and the Patriotic Front president is there. However, we need all the help we can get from the people in the system, the civil servants. The civil servants need to ensure that they do things that are in accordance with the law. They do things in accordance with the wills and aspirations of the party in government.
Let's talk
There
about...
is a manifesto which has to be followed. Is in the manifesto of the PF, is there a provision for a health post to be constructed. Yes, it's there.
Is there a provision for expired medicine to be
It
given?
is not there.
But why is it that the expired medicine is given?
Ask the technocrats.
Thank you so much. Let's move on. Sustainable development. The president talked about, as we pursue our economic development, there is need to protect our environment and natural resources. We need to exploit our natural resources in a sustainable manner for use to attain intergenerational equity while maintaining ecological integrity. Don't you think the president shot himself, because we have Forest 27, which has been demarcated and given to people, while people and technocrats have opposed to say you cannot degazette Forest 27?
Yeah, so very important there. I may not discuss the issue of Forest 27 because the issue, I understand the issue is sub judice, it's before the court, so I may not touch it. However, the president touched on a very important aspect,
yes,
where he says, in as much as he actually warned government departments and he actually warned officers in the government to say, yes, you may want these lands, but I warn you, don't touch these gazetted areas that are gazetted as reserves. We need to preserve our environment. He indicated that we need to preserve our environment. He indicated that in this era, in the advent of global warming and all,
climate change,
we need not cut down trees. Let's preserve our environment. Let's ensure that you see, like I indicated earlier on, the law is there. Is the law there to stop poachers from poaching anyhow? The law is there. And there's been a lot of enforcement that has been done by the by ZAWA with regards to those that have been found in possession of government trophy. A lot of enforcement has been done, and it is commendable that that is being done. ZAWA is equally doing its part, ensuring that these wildlife is protected. And I feel, you see, my brother, like I indicated, do we have a politician on top with the political will to develop this country? Do we have a politician on top with the heart for the people? The heart that says, gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, let us not get rid of our forests. We need the trees. Do we have that politician? And the answer is simple. The answer is yes. And that is the reason why we even have, for example, in Lusaka, we've seen that the mayor of the great city of Lusaka has embarked on this project to plant trees. Is that a good thing? Yes, it is. We need to safeguard our environment. Water. There are reserves, areas that are reserved, under which...
And there are people that are built in the water aquifers.
And that is where the problem is. Why do we want to continue blaming the politician who in fact has a political will, and yet we've got certain civil servants who don't want to do their job?
And
why should land be allocated?
Politicians, Mr. Mukandila.
Let the law take its course. For me, it is simple. Is the law there? Yes, it is there. Why is the police not moving in? We should start questioning. Why is the Anti-Corruption Commission not moving in?
Integrity Committee.
Why are the integrity committees sleeping?
Maybe they're also benefiting.
Well, I may not speculate in that manner, but I feel it's wrong for anyone to benefit at the expense of the Zambian people and the heritage that we hold in Zambia.
Let's talk about the issue of violence. The president talked about, he said, notwithstanding the peace we have enjoyed as a country, we have continued to witness incidences of politically motivated violence. This is not just worrisome, but also disheartening for a Christian nation with a long history of being a beacon of peace. One of the root causes of such violent act is the increasing polarization of our society along regional and ethnic lines, especially by politicians. This must be condemned with the contempt it deserves. Yes. Condemning, the president has been condemning, but things have continued. Just last month, we saw a man being killed because of political affiliation. And we saw people pointing fingers, say, these are the people that have murdered this person. The president, again, is just condemning. And people have said the only man in this country with the power to stop political violence is the president, because history has it that Mwanawasa did it. But this president is failing.
Kelvin, I do not believe that it is one individual who can stop political violence in this country.
They are saying
he did not stop it as an individual. You see, let's look at history religiously,
yes.
and it's very important we look at the facts. You can only achieve so much as an individual, but as a team, it can be done, and that is the reason why there is a core. If you watched the speech religiously, like I did, I have watched it over 3 times.
Yeah, I've read it
and exactly, times. Which is very good. The president has insisted that, you see, political violence should neither be here nor there, and he's also said, why should we have political violence that results from these political leaders, and that is politically motivated, and it is tribal and all that, forgetting that, you see, I'll quote the great words of Michael Sata. Michael Sata at some point stated that, in fact, there was a by-election in some constituents where he was telling his MP to be that, you MP, you need to remember that in Infumu, this person was born a king, or this person was born a chief. You need to respect the traditional leaders and the traditional leadership. And I do not believe it is right for anyone to disrespect the traditional leadership.
Yes.
And that's one thing that the president has even been preaching, to say, let's work together with traditional leadership. Let's not divide this country. We only have one country, and that is Zambia. As patriotic citizens, all we can do is to safeguard the interests and the peace that we have in Zambia, to ensure that the remarks made by politicians and politically motivated violence, it should neither be here nor there. You see, we need to move from the politics of pangas or beating people to the politics where we have ideas on the table.
Is it possible
we
that we
debate
can move
ideas?
away from these politics of
well, we've always been preaching that as the PF, to say, let us debate ideas. We have developed this nation. Tell us where you think we have gone wrong. Don't be politically violent.
But the same PF members are seen stopping radio programs. This week we did see Harikala.
My brother, I will not say.
So those are not politics of ideas.
I will not say.
Someone is trying to.
I will not say those are PF members. Remember, the wording everywhere else is alleged PF members, and it remains an allegation until proven that they are PF members. They are alleged.
So if
PF
we continue to allege, and without pointing, say yes, these are, because those people are seen and police officers went through.
Well, it remains alleged.
The DP leadership saw them, and because these people live, because if I know that you've interacted with people from different opposition political parties, if they see you as a Mukandila and they know that you're PF, and they come and say, oh, the person who came is a PF member, and you are there, but you will continue to say alleged.
But remember, my brother, politics is a game of numbers, and the morality of switching camp is neither here nor there. An individual can actually switch camp today. They join the United Party for National Development and still orchestrate violence. Because they've got that image to say they were once PF, they may be considered that they are PF, which is a wrong perception. But one thing I'll tell you is, it's possible that people can jump from one political party to another political party, and because of the image they had once, they will say, no, this is a PF member. It's also possible that tomorrow I may be an independent person, not belonging to any political party, but because of the connotation I have to the patriotic front and the perception there, the people would say, no PF. But you see, we need to understand how the political system works, and it works in such a way that an individual today may belong to a political party like the PF, but they switch camp. President Harikala knew the people that came to that scene. Once upon a time, according to him, those people are PF, but I will tell you that it's also possible that they may have switched camp. They may not be PF members. So we may not conclusively say those are PF members, let's ensure that it remains an allegation, because no one has been found guilty as of yet. So for me, I believe we need to be very sober when you're looking at that. I condemn, in the highest level, violence and political violence.
The president also did assure the nation that this government is committed and is going to ensure, or the government is going to ensure, that we have free and fair election come 12th August, and peace is going to prevail before, during and after. And he did mention that he's working with the police, civil society organization and the church. The church is divided. We have seen some clergy when they stand, they are aligned to the ruling party. Some clergy when they stand, they are also aligned to the opposition. Similar with the civil society organization, where a civil society champion or man from the civil society organization, when he stands to speak, is labeled by the opposition, say he's championing the agenda of the PF. Similar, another one who stands is also going to be labeled as someone who is championing the opposition's agenda. With the president working with these civil society organizations, others have argued that it's just being rhetoric.
You see, Kelvin, like the president stated, that the only thing he can do is to give the assurance that there will be peace and we're going to have a peaceful election. And he cannot assure the nation more than that. He has assured the nation peace and a free and fair election. And we've actually seen that government's effort through the Electoral Commission of Zambia have shown that we've come up with a new register, voter register, with enhanced security features to even reduce any chance of anyone doing anything or manipulating anywhere, any document whatsoever during the elections. But the peace is guaranteed. The police have on several occasions been heard making statements and warning people who would want to orchestrate violence in this country. And you see, like I indicated, there is a political will by the Republican president. The political will is there. He wants to ensure that there is peace. All that is remaining is to see to it that the police do their job, to enforce. We've got pieces of legislation they have to enforce. One of them is the notorious Public Order Act. These are legislations that have to be enforced, and the law enforcement officers need to also enforce those laws. Now, I should also be hastened to mention that the peace that we have enjoyed as a nation from 1964 is so precious that a responsible citizen would wake up today and ensure that we embrace the peace and ensure that we do things in accordance with the values enshrined in the Constitution. Let's remember, we only have one Zambia and one nation, devoid of where you are, whether you are in the diaspora, whether you belong to the opposition UPND, whether you belong to the opposition DP. It is only one Zambia that we have, and we need to ensure that we take it upon ourselves as responsible citizens, patriotic citizens who are law-abiding, to ensure that the peace is upheld. Those that are going to orchestrate any form of violence, there are a lot of warnings that have been put across by the police as well as the president. That we are not going to tolerate that.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mukandila, for making an appearance on this special interview. I hope to see you soon.
Thank you very much, and thank you to the viewers out there. And let's remember to mask up, and COVID is real, very important, and maintain social distancing. And I really appreciate your invitation, comrade. Thank you very much.
There you have it. This has been Saturday's edition of the special interview. My guest has been Celestin Mukandila, who is a Patriotic Front PF sympathizer, and we've been looking at the address, the State of the Nation address that was given by the President, which the President delivered on Friday, the 12th of February. We continue to punch holes and evaluate the speech as well as the progress that we have made and the progress that we're going to continue making as a nation. My name is Kelvin Tabola, Chief Worker, on behalf of Muvi, my director, producer. Until next time, good night.